introductions first, and then we're going to do Smackdown on the intro. I am your host, Sean Garmer, and this is our Smackdown live review. And with me here is the main man, Mr. Paul Leeser.
I totally didn't know we were live until you actually started doing the intro. So, what's happening, folks?
Yeah, we all got to go through these kind of things. So here we go. Our Smackdown live review from Bakersfield, California, coming right up. Well, they were certainly missing talent on this SmackDown Live as they are preparing for a tour of Australia and New Zealand Wednesday through Saturday or Sunday. Paul, it sure kind of felt like it.
Yeah, I mean, really, the only big two people they were missing were the guys they did the video package for. And to be honest, that kind of made me tune out. But everybody, they were missing the Usos too, which I guess only really helped the tag segment. And even then, it wouldn't have been very much. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's still. This is the same thing that kind of you suffered from on Monday, where it seemed like their heads were not into this show.
Mm-hmm.
And we did sort of correct what we talked about the week before, where they had American Alpha sort of debut against Vaudevillains. Well, this week they decided to have American Alpha against some jobbers. And then during the match or before the match, I forgot exactly where it happened, but the rest of the tag team, sans the Usos that are on SmackDown, showed up to sort of watch. And Breezango were not there either. I mean, not that that would have just added so much there. But Paul, I mean, what do you think about them sort of kind of telling you we're starting to cook up the tag division because we're going to have tag titles soon?
I personally dug this segment. American Alpha looks dominant in the squash. It goes maybe a minute and a half, and then you have the rest of the tag teams come down to watch them, sort of making American Alpha look like the top dogs within 2 weeks, and that's kind of impressive. But when you look at the rest of the teams, it's not like there's anybody that greatly stands out or anything like that either. So you have that. But, I mean, with American Alpha and enough teams around them to support them, you could probably put on a pretty solid tag division still. So.
Yeah, certainly. And, when you put in Breezango, you've got basically 4 NXT fresh tag teams, and you got the Usos. Mm-hmm. And then you got American Alpha. And so it's a very young or, very not developed amount of personas that you got there. And, with the Usos already getting booed and everything, too. I mean, it's not a whole lot of people other than American Alpha that they really want to get behind either. Mm-hmm. So whoever's challenging American Alpha, it's going to be a problem taking them seriously, too.
Right. And hopefully the little push that they were given for Zack Ryder there is going to help at least them care somewhat about the Hype Bros. So you have at least a backup face team to sort of rely on outside of Alpha. But I think time's going to have to tell on this one.
I mean, who do you think? You think it's pretty much set, right, that it would probably be Alpha and the Usos for the tag title match whenever that does happen?
I wouldn't sell Breezango short either, but yeah.
You think they do sort of mini tournament? Do you think they try to do like all the tag teams in one thing, or just?
I think it's a tournament. I mean, a gauntlet would be kind of cool, especially if you want to show all the teams that are in the division and crown the champion at the same time. But I feel like they're going to want to build the backlash, and the best way to do that's a tournament, I think.
They did start off the show with Mr. Bray Wyatt, who he did have Eric Rowan in tow, so they are sort of back together in a way, especially after last week. And Wyatt kind of ran down the guys that are sit here involved in this with Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler, and then they sort of come out, and we get the tag match main event that we kind of pretty much figured was a done deal from last week.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the tag match was pretty good main event. I mean, it wasn't anything out of this world spectacular or whatever, but it was your, I guess, general tag team main event. I mean, what did you think about your main story, I guess, going through the show?
All I did was sitting there during that opening segment waiting for Teddy Long to come out to make that tag team match play. But we were to be disappointed on that front. I will say, I think Bray Wyatt did an excellent job here. It's one of his solid promos. Really talks about how, for everything, for him at least, it's still him against the world and all that good stuff, which I really appreciated. And then the tag match, I think it was fine. It was a little unspectacular, but it was what it needed to be.
Brandon, you are really loud, sir.
Oh, sorry about that. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
You had like a vacuum sound coming. So, I mean, welcoming Mr. Brandon Biskobing again to join us as the third host. I mean, man, we've talked about the tag teams here. We've talked about the sort of the main event and the main storyline. I mean, anything that draws your attention there from...
Well, Paul, I think, talking about the whole Wyatt family against Ziggler and Ambrose thing right there.
Yeah, we talked about tag division first, and then we talked about the main event stuff.
Okay. In terms of the tag division, the main thing I'm looking forward to, or I'm hoping will happen with this, first off, I think it was cool having all the other tag teams kind of come out and watch American Alpha against these jobbers and basically kind of, stack up their competition. I think at this point they're pretty much establishing that American Alpha is the top team on SmackDown. But I hope that they actually do like a tag team tournament or something along those lines among these four teams for whenever they do bring out this new SmackDown tag title, instead of just giving it to American Alpha or whatever. I think they will probably do that, but we'll have to see. In terms of the whole Ziggler and Ambrose and Wyatt family thing, first off, the whole thing, and I mean, they're really a family now, and I thought that giving Wyatt maybe a win, or at least, giving him, a draw or something, some way to put him in the main event picture fully would have given him a little bit more of his aura back. But these promos where he's still saying, like, I'm the best and all of this, it just doesn't have the same effect as it did when he first started out, and you could actually believe it. Now, because he's been so poorly booked, a guy like that, you need to be able, a storyline like that, you need to give them wins in order to make them believable and make them intimidating. And it just doesn't seem like that's the case with Wyatt anymore. They're really going to have to do a lot of work with him in order to get him back up to that point.
I think with Bray, for one, at least he didn't take the fall. And they really made Dolph's super kick look strong since last week here, and he takes out Eric Rowan, who's a very large man, with super kick, which is fine. I don't know if Bray came out of this looking better or worse than he did last week. So I don't know if they really did any long-term damage to him tonight. But, I mean, I certainly agree with you. If they're going to rebuild him into something, they have to work towards that. But right now, they're on the Dolph Ziggler project, and then I assume once they have him set, they'll move on to the Bray Wyatt project.
Oh no, I'm not so much talking about the match. I'm talking about that original promo in the beginning of the show with how he was talking, and it just didn't seem like the fans were getting behind him as much as they have in the past, because it just doesn't come off as, not that it doesn't come off as genuine, it's not believable anymore because of how often he's lost.
He has a point about that.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, that he has lost a lot, and it's going to take a bit for them to sort of refuel him and make you feel like, okay, he matters a lot now.
Yeah,
I do think that go ahead.
You can't be the eater of worlds and a god like he said tonight. That was the part that really shocked me. I was like, you haven't won a match in I don't know how long. How are you a god?
Didn't he just win a match or something? Against
Bray hasn't won since the brand split started.
Well,
yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, more to your point there, Brandon. I mean, about he doesn't win, but he's a god. And, you know, if there is one thing about The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar, you know, they're both called gods at certain points, they win.
Exactly. I mean, you know, him, you know, you could have, back in the beginning of his career, with the way his character was, you could have made a point of him, like they tried to do with WrestleMania 30, making him the new face of fear, usurping The Undertaker. And if you could have done that and actually had him win some matches, he would be movable. But that's like I've been saying, and I've been saying this, you know this, Sean, I've been saying this for a while now, with a character like Bray Wyatt, you need wins, or else the character just completely falls on its face.
It's a fair point. Like I said, they're rebuilding certain guys so fast as they can, and they can only do so much.
Oh, no, I agree with that, but I just don't know. They're going to need to do a lot of work with Bray Wyatt before he can actually be believable. They basically have to do with him what they're doing on Raw with Braun Strowman, and just have him destroying people and being creepy as all hell and just becoming an unstoppable force in order to really build that character back up to what it should be.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They got to decide what they want to do with Bray, you know, and they have done Ambrose and Bray a lot in the past, so do they want to go right to that? It seems like they're going to go in a different direction, and Bray's is kind of going to be what he's been. They honestly really need him to run through people, like you said, but it's just, do you really want to see Bray and Dolph again? Do you really want to see, I mean, they're setting up Bray as a heel, so it's like you can't have him go against...
Well, wait, I'm trying to think. It's all bungled up.
I guess you could do Apollo and Bray for the IC title or something.
Is Baron Corbin still... Is Corbin on SmackDown?
Yeah, he beat up.
Do a battle. I mean, Baron Corbin's whole thing is, you know, he's the, you know, it's the end of days. Do a whole apocalypse, Battle of the Apocalypse type feud between those two, and have Bray look strong against Baron Corbin, and that'll get his character image up a little more.
Baron's more of a loner type guy. It's not so much about the apocalypse. Just happens to be the name of his name.
But, I mean, the concept... Yes, I agree with you, Paul, but the concept, especially with fans who just hear that whole concept of him, you know, being the, you know, with what he says when he comes out.
I mean, honestly, they might be better served in using them to help in a few with American Alpha. Obviously, you can't have them go over American Alpha because they're still too new, but having them be a force for them might be worth something. I mean,
But see, the losses just lower.
Like I said, it doesn't help them get to the main event scene, but it does keep them in the limelight. And
well, I'm not even talking so much about the main event. I'm just saying, in terms of character build, you can't have a character that is supposed to be scary and have them lose all the time, and have them still try to be scary.
Yes and no. Just because they don't win in the ring doesn't mean they can't do stuff outside of it to mess with you. You know, if they ever decide to pull that trigger, which they seem like on a weekly basis change their mind about. What's new, right?
Yeah, that's the same thing we've always gone through for forever with them. So now we move on from but good discussion about Bray. You know, that is the thing that they've had to deal with for a long time with Bray Wyatt, about what do you do with him? Do they ever want to take him seriously? Is he ever going to be something for them? You know, those are important things, because he's a guy that really they could do a lot more with, and he just kind of sits there. If you're trying to remodel Dolph Ziggler, Bray Wyatt should be your next pet project.
Mm-hmm.
If, you know, you're doing it with Ziggler as well, because they need to establish as many guys as they possibly can.
I mean, Ziggler doesn't even. I mean, I'd rather them try to remodel Bray Wyatt a little more. Ziggler, yes, you could get him some more wins to make him a little more competitive, but in terms of a character level, yeah, he's a show-off. You'd like to get him some wins, but he doesn't need it nearly as much as a character like Bray Wyatt does.
I would disagree, but okay.
Well, so why you disagree?
Because if you're a show-off, you do well by winning matches. It's the same.
But you can show. I mean, just as Dean Ambrose said in that promo 2 weeks ago, he's caring more about showing off. I mean, you can be flamboyant and everything and not win because of your flamboyance and trying to show off. And that can be the whole thing about him.
If you're cocky and you don't win, you're just a loud talking prick. If you're
cocky, I understand that, but
I like you. Dolph Ziggler can talk the biggest game and win matches. It's how Shawn Michaels got over in '96. It's the same idea. Same idea.
And he's more Shawn Michaels than ever with the
exactly
pick and everything else.
And recently he's been really on his game with the promos too. So I let him win.
Yeah,
I got hurt anything.
I mean, I don't know that he wins at SummerSlam,
I don't think
but he does need to win. Aside from that, you know, the thing is, SmackDown has so many small amount of guys that you can really have around to just lose.
Right.
You know, that's the problem with SmackDown. Their whole roster is very thin at the moment. So they did a lot more with the ladies on this show than they did in the previous show. You had Eva Marie once again come in and make her presence felt. This time she had a wardrobe malfunction, and so she left. And Alexa Bliss got to have some promo time and go against Becky Lynch. But then Eva Marie came back and cost Becky Lynch the match. So it seems like we're going with Becky and Eva Marie. And then later we continued the Natalya and Carmella feud. Carmella adding a lot more verbiage to that intro for herself. And it seemed like it just makes people care even less. And Natalya Law, you know, she tapped out to the what is that? The cone of whatever? Is it cone of silence or cone of whatever?
She's
the
changed
leg
the name
cross.
of that damn move so many times.
The whatever the leg pulling submission thing is. Yes. At least Carmella wins, but yeah. And the thing is, too, the crowd was rather flat for this show. So it was not a very good barometer of what is really working and what isn't, other than obviously Marie gets boos. But what'd you guys think of what they did with the women here?
Well, I mean, the only thing I'll say about it is that they're real, like, if the rumors are true, that they're thinking about putting the title on her, they're going to have to do a lot more of the second portion of what they did with her tonight and a lot less of the first, because I just feel like you cannot create a new title and put it on someone that weak, because otherwise, I mean, that's basically, I mean, I know it's a little bit better.
It kills the legitimacy of the title.
Exactly. I know it's a little better, but because she has had some training, but it's basically like WCW giving the inaugural title to David Arquette.
I enjoyed the stuff with Becky and Alexa. It wasn't too groundbreaking or anything, obviously, but I thought it was fine. It was good, and Alexa, I think, put herself over pretty well. Eva Marie was the same as last week. It's all going to be great until they let her into the ring, and then we're going to have to wait and see there. Carmella, she wasn't ready. I think tonight was really proof of that. Her and Natty had they worked a well-designed match, but nobody gave a shit. And I don't know if they ever did anything that really let Carmella pull them into getting the sympathy for her, because her just coming out sort of grandstanding didn't do much anything for anybody.
Well, I think part of that with nobody caring about that second match was the fact that it was the second of the women's things. If they put that first, I think people would have cared a little more, because, I mean, when the first thing is Eva Marie doing her thing, it completely destroys the legitimacy of anything else that follows.
I don't know about that. I think you're trying to establish Eva Marie here. You're trying to establish what kind of character Eva Marie is.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that way, it's a weird way of doing character development, but it's what works with her, because we all know that she can't wrestle, and most people, even if they didn't watch her in NXT, you haven't watched a whole lot of her. There's never a lot of good things to say about Eva Marie ring-wise. And that's sort of what Becky's hinting at there, and it allowed Becky to cut her promo and have a reason to cut her promo. I thought that was actually again, if Eva Marie is going to be somebody that they need to establish, it's a cheap heat heel. She works. The Carmella stuff is just, for me, it only works when Enzo and Cass are around. So if you're going to have her do this, it doesn't work as a face. She talks and acts sort of heelish, like that kind of character. You don't want to necessarily like that character. So it's that same thought we had. Remember when Carmella was around by herself the first time before they put her with Enzo and Cass, and they had her out there, and you kept saying, "Oh, they're going to turn her heel at some point," and they never did. I'm getting that same vibes from Carmella again.
They should have done it then.
Yeah.
They need faces. They really do, because you don't have anybody else outside of Becky. I don't know if Naomi's supposed to be a face.
And we don't know when Nikki's going to come back.
Yeah. So you need another face, and Carmella's fine, I guess, but she needs something more to her besides Enzo and Cass ripoff,
Well, in terms of the whole face thing, I think and hope that they will be adding one more face to the product at the end of the month.
Whether that's Bayley or not, I don't know.
Well, I think it will be whoever loses that match.
It'll be Asuka is not. I don't think they're ready to bring Asuka up yet. Yeah. So I expect Asuka to retain at TakeOver. I don't know if they bring Bayley up after that or not, just because we've seen so many occasions where you could bring her up, and they've either refused or haven't had the time for establishing her or whatever. But I think with the two brands, you really do need her on one of the shows, and she would be infinitely more helpful on SmackDown.
Yeah, especially with the new title and everything.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only way you can say it's okay to put Bayley on Raw is if not only Nikki comes, but you have somebody else, some other female that comes to SmackDown, not just her, because Nikki's going to be part-time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're going to have somebody that's going to be able to be there more often. Like, say, if Brie, I think Brie's, I don't know if she's pregnant, right?
Yeah.
And, yeah, so unless Brie comes back after she's no longer pregnant, which I think the idea was for her to be there and be a mom, I just don't know how you can just have Bayley on Raw and kind of really rip the tide of the flow of the two women's divisions. But, the way that they've set up SmackDown, where it's your really, really new guys and all that kind of stuff, I guess it would keep going with that theme. Speaking of, Heath Slater and Rhino happened. Slater loses, as you'd expect. I like the fact that they brought in Rhino's government stuff. That was nice. Then Heath Slater has once again, I thought he killed it here on the promo. And they find out that he was going to get a contract, but because he decided to quit, or that he had already figured that they weren't going to give him one, he didn't get it. Poor Heath Slater.
I was entertained by that part. The match was what it was going to be, but Heath Slater certainly continues to be entertaining, and I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a funny segment, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next, especially if they show him the video of that or something and have him flip out or something like that. I mean, there are so many things you can do with this now, so it'll be interesting to see how things go. So now, is Rhino officially on SmackDown now?
Yes.
Yeah, he won the contract that first
yeah. Okay, so I mean, it'll be interesting to see if he does anything on SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll be a good mid-card piece or whatever. I mean, I can't imagine that he's going to have this big push or anything. I mean, now that you don't have Shelton coming back at all for a while, who knows? Maybe that raises everybody else's spot. But, Shelton was also going to be just going for the IC title. So, I think the only things we haven't discussed are, I did like I talked about it when they had the IC title match, that setting up Corbin and Kalisto when they already have history, I think sort of felt like a thing that's just easy and there for you to do. Simple, pretty pre-show match, I would think, for SummerSlam.
Yeah, if they want to. I mean, I think they have their pick'em choice for pre-show matches right now.
Yeah, I think it depends. Obviously, if they make the U.S. title a fatal four-way, then I think there's your pre-show match. I guess they could have two because it's supposed to be a 4-hour show, but I guess we'll get to that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is going to be. I mean, it's not quite as big as WrestleMania, but it's an hour longer than it is normally, so. We'll have to see if they decide to do anything. They're going to have to fill those spots somehow.
Yeah, true. I mean, they've got to find bodies from both the brands right now. So it's going to be interesting what the rating is for the show tomorrow, too, because, again, you didn't have two of your big guys, Cena and AJ. And, again, this show, very much like Raw, kind of felt not a whole lot of stuff that was important happening.
Yeah.
Speaking of, the Cena and AJ got a very, very good video package. I mean, I was interested, maybe interested in the feud and what they're going to set up next week for the go home.
My only issue was that it felt like the exact same video package they would show before the match on SummerSlam.
Yeah.
But it was good, yeah.
And then we got Randy Orton and Alberto Del Rio, which was sort of set up in that little opening part that they do now where they start backstage. And Del Rio and Orton sort of had a little scoff at each other there. Del Rio was upset at Orton and how he is and everything. And then we get Randy Orton and Alberto Del Rio. So, I mean, it was, I guess, good, you know. But it's weird that they just didn't have Orton beat him, or, you know.
I thought it was a little long for my taste.
Yeah, and then they had the... Did you like the stuff with the chair and all that getting involved? I mean, it's kind of felt like... I guess we don't want to have Del Rio look bad right now, but...
I mean, the only problem that... The big problem that I had with it, and... I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could make the case that Del Rio has his own motives, but, you know, if you look at it just on face value, you know, there really isn't any reason for Del Rio to try to stop Orton from going to SummerSlam, and like, you know, this is like... Is Brock doing? Like, it makes Brock look weak if it seems like he's trying to get people to take Orton out.
Oh, man, I don't even know half what you said. You came off really, like, scratchy there.
Well, what the main thing I was saying was, like, why is Del Rio trying to take Orton's arm out? Like, what's the whole purpose of that?
His finisher? I mean, Del Rio hasn't really done anything on the show yet either, so, I mean, Randy's still one of the bigger names in the company. You take him out, and you might find yourself in a better spot on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, he's hunting for the big dog. He's hunting for the guy that right now has the biggest spot aside from Ambrose, and Ambrose is already busy, so, you know, I don't blame Del Rio. I think that's a smart thing. They protected him here, and, you know, I guess we move on from Orton, but I don't know. I just think Orton needs to look really strong here. If you're going to have him be in matches, he's got to look strong going against Brock.
I don't know if you want to kill Del Rio, who could conceivably, I guess, still be one of your top guys. I don't know if he wants to be, or if WWE doesn't want him to be, or if it's both at this point. I don't know what that relationship is like right now.
Yeah, it seems like they got issues with Del Rio most of the time. So that's one of those, who knows if he's ever going to get to do something again for them.
Well, I mean, the other thing about Del Rio, too, though, is that, I mean, with his character, it doesn't really go over all that well in the WWE. Like, he's not really getting that much of a reaction.
Because he doesn't do anything to elicit one.
I agree with you, Paul, but I'm just saying it's kind of, you know, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Him not doing much in terms of eliciting a reaction is causing WWE to say, well, why should we be giving you opportunity?
Yep. Hey, I mean, at least, the Miz was trying harder. He went and made out with his wife on top of a desk, and he also got himself locked in the Mystery Machine by Scooby-Doo. So, I mean, the guy had a better night.
That was actually, and this just shows how poor SmackDown was tonight. That was one of the better segments of the night, seeing Miz get locked inside. First off, well, I mean, I hate to kind of be the one to state the obvious, but, I mean, he's locked inside the van. Why can't he just unlock it himself?
Maybe they have child lock on.
He was in the front. He was in the front seat. You can easily just pull out the lever. But
you got to suspend that disbelief, right?
Yes, I know, but still, I mean, that with setting that aside, that was better and more entrance of the night.
The only I thought this Miz stuff was fine, but him and Maurice on the table, it really felt like they were about to do it right then and there. So
Live sex celebration again.
yeah,
With
part 2.
Miss and Maurice. And Renee was
Right there in front of Renee.
yeah, there in front of Renee. With her doing the awkward, all right, I'm just let's take it to this over here so you don't watch what's going on. But I mean, that sort of covers the SmackDown. I mean, honestly, it sort of felt like a show you didn't need to check out, and you'll be fine. They are obviously hoping that you sort of don't worry about this week and check in again when you got the go homes to SummerSlam. I guess we got to give a rating out of 10 here. What are you thinking?
I don't know. There wasn't a lot of good stuff on the show. I thought your opening half of the first hour was fine. Your main event was okay, if a little boring, and Randy and Del Rio was okay as well. It just wasn't. There wasn't anything exciting, really, outside that half hour at the beginning. 5.
Yeah, I think I'd go the same 5. There wasn't really much to, catch your eye here. I mean, there were 1 or 2 entertaining segments, but beyond that, nothing really that was eye-opening.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of feels like you went back to your formulaic Raws and SmackDowns for this week. So I'm going to go with a 5 as well. And that's going to do it here for our SmackDown Live review. A little shorter because, again, there wasn't a whole lot going on with this show. But, again, you can check us out. You can check out our Raw review that we did on yesterday. We're going to do nights 14 and 15 of the G1 here right after we get done with this, and you'll have both of them there on the download. And, of course, you can check us out on Thursday night, Friday morning for the part 2 of episode 207. Talking TNA, talking NXT, talking that first week of the second round of the CWC with Kota Ibushi and Cedric Alexander. Mouth watering for that one. Yeah. And, I mean, whatever else. Another G1 show will have happened by that time, too, so we'll be getting into that. And then head into that home stretch ball of 3 straight G1 shows, and then the week of death, and the week after.
It'll be fun. It's going to be fun. Yeah. Lack of sleep will be worth it.
Yeah.
It's bad when I say I've been, and this is mostly last week and this week. It's bad this week since we're only 3 weeks removed from the draft that I'm more looking forward to watching NXT and the Cruiserweight Classic than I am Raw or SmackDown.
That tells you a lot, like, of what you need to know right there. The thing is, Raw gave you. I mean, SmackDown was good last week, though. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, SmackDown was good last week, but I'm just saying in general because, like, while there are some pretty good things, it's just like the Cruiserweight Classic and NXT have just been grabbing your attention so much lately.
Yeah, something that Cruiserweight Classic has been nailing it, at least for a few of the matches on each show. So it makes you want to check it out. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with some of the eliminated ones, how they put them in some of these shows. Now
one other thing, and I've been just probably mostly because it was a very bland show, but the post-show Talking Smack didn't give you as much oomph as it did last week.
Brian was still good on it.
Yeah,
that was sort of a highlight.
Yeah.
But all right, everybody. Join us for either the G1 show or the Thursday regular Part 2 show. We'll see you then.
Have a good one, folks.
See ya.